In recent months, the world has been shaken by serious allegations against the public figure Sean Combs, also known as P Diddy. The story is filled with accusations of abuse, violence, coercion, and a life of excess. Unfortunately, this is not an isolated case. Many powerful men fall into the traps of their own uncontrolled choices. This leads us to a deep reflection on what it truly means to be powerful, how we should live, and, most importantly, how to avoid a life immersed in the emptiness of promiscuity and the abuse of power. In today's video, we will dive into transformative teachings from ancient wisdom, particularly Stoicism, to understand what it means to be a man of virtue, to be a true leader of oneself, rather than being enslaved by desires, passions, and temptations. We will explore how to cultivate a life of self-control, purpose, and righteousness, away from the excesses that destroy lives and reputations. 1. The illusion of power and the pursuit of pleasure. The pursuit of power and immediate pleasure is one of the greatest traps many fall into throughout life. Power seduces because it offers a sense of control and dominance over others, but the Stoics teach us that this external power is, in fact, an illusion. According to Epictetus, it is not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. This means that true power lies not in controlling the external world but in controlling our emotional responses and how we choose to react to situations. When we focus on external power, whether political, financial, or social, we become vulnerable because these things are beyond our control and are fleeting. Moreover, the relentless pursuit of pleasure, whether physical or emotional, leads to exhaustion. Pleasure, like money or status, is fleeting. Seneca warns us, "Nothing is enough for the man to whom enough is too little." This means that in seeking pleasure endlessly, we are never truly satisfied. The more we feed these desires, the more enslaved we become by them. The Stoics advocated the idea that true power comes from within, from the control we exercise over our emotions, thoughts, and desires. Pleasure must be moderated, as its excessive pursuit leads us away from the path of wisdom and moral growth. 2. Virtue as the path to happiness. The Stoics taught that virtue is the only thing truly necessary for happiness. Unlike the pursuit of external pleasures which can never fully satisfy, the practice of virtue leads to lasting happiness because it is rooted in what we can control, our actions and character. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, emphasizes that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. For the Stoics, living virtuously means living in harmony with reason and nature. This means doing what is right, regardless of external circumstances, and focusing on the common good. Virtue in the Stoic context encompasses four main qualities: wisdom, making prudent and thoughtful decisions; justice, acting with fairness and integrity; courage, facing challenges and fears without being overcome by them; self-control, governing desires and passions, maintaining balance in mind and actions. True happiness arises when we live in accordance with these virtues. When we choose the path of self-control and justice, we experience an inner peace that money or immediate pleasure cannot provide. Happiness becomes a consequence of a well-lived life, not something we desperately chase. 3. The wisdom of self-control. Self-control is one of the most essential virtues to avoid a life of chaos and promiscuity. For the Stoics, self-control is the key to true freedom. As Epictetus taught, no man is free who is not master of himself. This means that without the ability to govern our desires and impulses, we are always at the mercy of temptations and external circumstances. Self-control allows us to make conscious decisions, avoiding being driven by the impulse of the moment. When we fail to cultivate this skill, we are carried away by our desires, which can lead to destructive choices. A promiscuous life, for example, is a clear sign of a lack of control over one's impulses. Stoic philosophy warns us always to seek mastery over our passions, remembering that while we cannot control what happens externally, we can control how we respond to it. In practical terms, self-control manifests in both small and large daily decisions. From what we choose to eat, how we react in moments of anger, to the choices we make in our personal relationships. Marcus Aurelius reminds us to rise each day with the determination to be better than we were the day before. This includes controlling our desires and acting according to principles we know to be correct. The wisdom of self-control guides us away from self-destruction. Rather than giving in to every desire, we cultivate the habit of reflecting before acting, weighing the consequences, and always seeking to act with wisdom and moderation. 4. Avoiding the errors of hedonism. Hedonism is a philosophy that suggests pleasure is the primary goal of life. However, Stoicism and other schools of ancient wisdom warn us about the dangers of this view. The unchecked pursuit of pleasure leads to superficiality, enslavement to desires, and eventually, personal degradation. The Stoics believed that pleasure should not be the main objective in life. They saw the relentless pursuit of pleasure as a trap that could lead to constant dissatisfaction. Seneca reminds us that, the more pleasures you seek, the more empty your life becomes. True happiness for the Stoics lies in living according to reason and virtue, not in giving in to momentary pleasures. Moderation is the path that avoids the errors of hedonism. Seeking pleasure is not inherently wrong, but making it the central priority in life is a mistake. Even Epicurus, a hedonistic philosopher, advocated that the most lasting pleasure comes from simplicity and self-control, not from unrestrained indulgences. This aligns well with the Stoic belief that self-control is the path to a full and balanced life. 5. True masculinity. True masculinity, according to the Stoics and other ancient wisdom, is not about domination over others, violence, or the number of material or sexual conquests. The true strength of a man lies in his capacity for self-control, his moral courage, and his pursuit of justice. The Stoics viewed masculinity as a matter of virtue. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest examples of a virtuous and powerful man, said, "The best revenge is to be unlike those who wronged you." This means that a true man is not one who seeks to repay evil with evil, but one who seeks to act with wisdom, patience, and compassion. For the Stoics, true masculinity is rooted in 4 essential virtues: justice, treating others with fairness and respect; courage, facing adversity with firmness without yielding to despair; wisdom, making thoughtful choices, seeking the common good; self-control, mastering passions and impulses, staying true to principles. Modern culture often distorts the idea of masculinity, associating it with material success or sexual conquest. However, the Stoics show that a strong man is one who governs himself and lives according to reason and moral values. 6. Reflection and self-discipline. The regular practice of reflection and self-discipline is one of the pillars of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius advised, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." This type of daily reflection prepares the mind to face life's challenges calmly and rationally. Reflection involves a constant examination of our actions, thoughts, and motivations. Self-discipline is the practice of controlling our desires and behaviors, staying firm in our principles even when tempted by external circumstances. The Stoics suggest a daily practice of reviewing one's actions. Seneca advises, "At night, reflect on what you did during the day and ask yourself, where did I act rightly? Where did I go wrong? Where can I improve?" This habit of reflection helps build a stronger character and correct deviations along the way. Self-discipline is deeply connected to the ability to resist temptation. A man who reflects on his actions and develops self-discipline does not allow himself to be carried away by momentary impulses, such as the pursuit of easy pleasures or indulgence in destructive behaviors. 7. The path of righteousness. Righteousness is the idea of living according to firm moral principles, guided by virtue and justice. In Stoicism, righteousness is the path to a full and satisfying life, as it aligns us with reason and nature. For the Stoics, living righteously means acting according to what is right, regardless of external rewards or consequences. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that what we do now echoes in eternity. Our actions not only shape our present but also have a lasting impact on our life and the world around us. Living a life of righteousness means making conscious and moral choices, without being corrupted by the desire for power, pleasure, or recognition. In the context of avoiding a promiscuous and uncontrolled life, the path of righteousness guides us to make choices that respect the dignity of others and are aligned with our greater good. Righteousness requires self-control, the courage to face temptations, and the wisdom to distinguish what is truly good for us, as well as keeping us steadfast in the pursuit of moral growth. 8. The impact of our actions on the world. Every action we take reverberates in the world around us, both positively and negatively. In Stoicism, there is a clear understanding that our actions are interconnected with the greater natural order, which means that our choices affect not only our lives but also society and the universe as a whole. Epictetus reminds us, "You cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it." Our response to circumstances determines the impact we have on the world. The Stoic concept of cosmopolitanism teaches us that we are citizens of the cosmos, and therefore our actions should be guided not only by self-interest but also by the common good. By avoiding a promiscuous and unruly life, we are, in fact, contributing to a more harmonious and just society, where people are not treated as objects for personal gratification but as beings worthy of respect and consideration. Additionally, Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, highlights that what is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. This illustrates how individual well-being is deeply connected to the collective. Acting with virtue, justice, and self-control creates a positive impact on the world, promoting peace, harmony, and mutual respect. 9. Cultivating wisdom and self-knowledge. The Stoics believed that self-knowledge is essential for living a full and meaningful life. Socrates, a precursor of the philosophical thought that influenced Stoicism, stated, "Know thyself." This is the starting point for cultivating wisdom because without self-knowledge we cannot identify our vices, weaknesses, or uncontrolled passions. Self-knowledge allows us to understand our deeper motivations, what truly drives us. Often, the pursuit of pleasures or status is a reflection of insecurities or internal voids. By developing the habit of reflecting on our actions and thoughts, we begin to understand the roots of these tendencies and work to overcome them. Wisdom, according to the Stoics, is the practical knowledge that helps us make correct decisions. It is not just about accumulating information, but about applying discernment in daily life. Seneca said, "Life without wisdom is death in action." To live wisely requires a continuous process of reflection, learning from mistakes, and striving to act according to reason and moral principles. Cultivating wisdom distances us from the errors of an unruly life and brings us closer to a virtuous and fulfilling existence. 10. How to avoid the paths of degradation. The Stoics warned about the danger of surrendering to uncontrolled desires, which lead to moral and spiritual degradation. For them, true freedom and dignity come from mastering oneself and rejecting impulses that pull us away from virtue. Marcus Aurelius emphasized that it is a shame for the soul when it grows weary before the body. This means that the mind must be trained to resist the temptation to indulge in excesses. Avoiding the paths of degradation begins with the practice of self-control. The Stoic philosopher Hierocles suggested using a technique called examination of conscience, where at the end of each day, a person reflects on their actions, identifying where they have strayed from the path of virtue. This practice helps to correct small deviations before they become destructive patterns. Another important aspect is the pursuit of higher purposes. A life revolving around momentary pleasures, superficial achievements, or instant gratification is a life that inevitably wears down and degrades. In contrast, focusing on goals of intrinsic value, such as moral growth, building authentic relationships, and serving others, helps to avoid personal and social degradation. 11. The importance of community and healthy relationships. Stoicism teaches us that human beings are naturally social. As mentioned earlier, the Stoics embraced the concept of cosmopolitanism, where we see ourselves as part of a larger, interdependent community. Marcus Aurelius observed, "What harms the community also harms you." This emphasizes that the well-being of society and relationships directly affects the individual. Healthy relationships are fundamental for moral and emotional growth. Promiscuity and selfishness destroy trust, corrode dignity, and leave emotional scars on both the practitioner and those affected. The Stoics, like many other philosophical and spiritual traditions, advocate that healthy relationships should be built on mutual respect, honesty, and commitment to the other's well-being. Furthermore, a healthy community offers support for growth and self-reflection. Virtuous friends and partners help us stay on the path of righteousness, challenge us to be better, and provide a mirror for our actions. Seneca believed strongly in the power of friendship for the development of virtue, stating, "Friendship is always helpful, self-love is always harmful." This thought shows that support and connection with others are essential to living a full and virtuous life. 12. Find your greater purpose. Finally, to avoid a life of promiscuity and excess, it is essential to find a greater purpose. When we do not have a clear and meaningful goal, we seek to fill the inner void with fleeting pleasures, but this never fully satisfies us. Stoicism teaches that the greater purpose of our lives should be to live in harmony with nature and reason, seeking the greater good. Marcus Aurelius, the great philosopher-emperor, reminds us that what we do now echoes in eternity. Our actions today shape who we will be tomorrow. Seeking a higher purpose, one that transcends our immediate desires, gives us clarity, strength, and a moral compass to navigate life's temptations. Being a true man is not about dominating others, accumulating wealth, or living a life of unrestrained pleasure. True masculinity is rooted in discipline, integrity, and respect for others and for oneself. The lessons of the Stoics and ancient wisdom show us the way to avoid the destruction that comes with promiscuity and excess and guide us toward a life of virtue and purpose. Choose the path of righteousness. Choose to live with purpose, wisdom, and self-control. Let the example of ancient wisdom serve as a beacon for your life, showing that true greatness is not in fleeting pleasures but in inner strength and unwavering integrity. If this content resonated with you, and you too believe in the importance of living a life guided by virtue, control, and wisdom, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Leave a comment below about what inspired you the most and how you are applying these ideas in your life. And, of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content that helps you become the best version of yourself, avoiding the mistakes that lead to degradation. Together, we can create a community of more conscious men and women, living with purpose and righteousness.